everyone. And thank you all for joining us today. We are so appreciative of everything that our volunteers, supporters, staff, and board do for our organization. You truly make everything that we do possible. We'd also like to start by thanking our sponsors that supported today's event, such as GGB, Schlosser Associates, Citibank, JP Morgan Chase & Co., WSFS Bank, Agilent, Covenant Wealth Strategies, Wilmington University, L&W Insurance, and Fox & Roach. Thank you so much for your support. Now, please give a warm welcome to Reverend Brad Hinton, who will be conducting our invocation for today's breakfast. Reverend?
Good morning, everyone. I too want to just echo what was just spoken by Madeline, that, gosh, what a joy to be here with everybody. And a special thank you to the staff of Family Promise of Northern Newcastle County. You all are awesome. And all of us are just so blessed to be in partnership with you as we do this amazing work. And so just a shout out to you all and to all the coordinators out there from all the religious communities and other organizations. You rock it. And we thank you so much for everything that you do to make the world a better place. So I'm honored to be able to ask the invocation for our meeting this morning. And so if those of you who are inclined to pray or to connect or to increase your divine consciousness, I invite you into a moment of silence and then some words. Gracious God, you are known to your children in a variety of ways and by 1,000 different names. We see you in the sun and the moon and the stars. We see you in nature. We see you in hands held close in love. We see you in acts of mercy. We witness you even in the moments of despair when all is bad, but somehow love breaks through. We claim your presence today in the midst of people gathered to do your good work in the world. And we thank you for your presence and thank you for the gifts of family, faith, hope, and love. We ask you to pour out your amazing grace on all people connected with this effort, for the staff, for all that they do for us and for your people in this county, for the coordinators who help to make everything happen, and of course, for all of the sponsoring congregations. We ask your blessing on all of them, that all that our efforts to make homelessness a thing of the past will be filled with amazing graces and mercies and yield a fruit that is 100-fold of what we've put into it. And of course, we ask your blessings and your protection upon all that we serve, all the families who come to us for help, and that as we speed them on their way, they too might also join in the effort to make this world a better place. We ask these blessings, O Lord, in your great divine name. Amen.
Thank you so much, Reverend Brad, and for your congregation at St. David's Episcopal Church. You guys have continuously supported Family Promise through the years, much like many of our amazing congregations that support us. We will now be introducing our incoming Executive Director, Tyler Shade, for a few remarks regarding our continued service.
Thanks, Maddie. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Reverend Brad. Did a wonderful job. Happy to be here with everyone. And thank you for everyone for jumping on the call today. We were hoping we could, get back in person this year. We were really excited this summer, but the Delta variant had other plans. And as a hallmark of Family Promise, we adapt when we have to. And in this situation, we adapted once again, going back to our virtual breakfast. So I hope you're enjoying breakfast at one of our 15 watch parties or enjoying a wonderful breakfast in the comfort of your own home this morning. I hope everyone's nice, settled, and comfortable. So this is my first time speaking officially at the breakfast in my new role as executive director. And as such, I thought it would be a good idea to provide some personal background in what I'll be speaking about today. So it gets a little bit personal, but I thought it would be a good idea to give some background, especially when everyone's telling their stories today. So it would be a good opportunity to interweave mine with what I'm speaking about. So when I was 12 years old, my parents got divorced. My father at the time, afterwards, wasn't exactly interested in being involved with my sister and I. So my mom ended up raising us on her own. My mom did her best to keep things normal for the most part and to generally what my sister and I were used to as kids. However, at the time, my mom was an administrative assistant. So when my father, the primary breadwinner, and with his income now gone, my mom simply didn't make enough on her own to cover our bills and housing. Ironically enough, it was in 2008, and like many others, the bank actually ended up foreclosing on my childhood home. At the time, I really had no idea how serious the situation we were in was. Our home had foreclosed, and at this point, an apartment was a pretty unlikely option as my mother's credit had taken a substantial hit after the divorce and a few missed mortgage payments. So, in a few weeks, we would lose our home and have nowhere of our own to call home. Luckily, I have a good amount of family in Delaware, and my grandmother reached out and actually offered to take us in. We ended up living with my grandmother for the next couple of years as my mom, worked to get back on her feet. And a few years later, my mom did. She got a rental on her own. And I'm happy to report out that today, my mom actually owns her own home. But when I was a kid, I never recognized the gravity of the situation that we were in. Because for the most part, it was because we had family in the area. The worst case scenario for us is that I would end up living with my grandmother. We we had access to social capital in the form of my grandmother at the time. There was family in the area that was willing to help us out when we were down on our luck. So I often think back about it a lot nowadays and the situation we found ourselves in and how lucky we were. Because I always think back and about what if you don't have family or friends in the area? Or maybe you do have family or friends, but they just don't have the space or they don't have the ability to take you in for some reason. My mom, sister, and I, we were lucky in that my grandmother lived nearby and was willing to take us in. The families we serve here, they're just like me and my mom and sister. They're just folks that have been dealt a tough hand in life and are down on their luck, just like me, just like my mom, and just like my sister. For us, it was a divorce that changed our lives. For others, it's a lost job. It could be an unexpected bill, or it could even be a family health crisis. There's all kinds of different things that can plunge a family into a situation of homelessness, and they're often unexpected. At a time in America when over 50% of our population lives paycheck to paycheck, homelessness is a stark possibility for many of our neighbors, friends, or family. Looking back, the only thing that separated me and my family from the families we serve here today is my grandmother. At the time, we had a place to go. I wasn't worried. We were going to a familiar place with my loving grandmother, and things were fine. But what if my grandmother wasn't around? Or what if she didn't have any space for us to stay with her? It's a pretty tough thing to ask somebody when they're living in their own home or apartment to accommodate 3 extra people or 4 extra people, 5 extra people. It can be a pretty tough thing, even if you have people that are willing to help just to be able to accommodate the size of some families. So if I didn't have my grandmother, we would have had nowhere to go. And that is a stark reality for many of the families we serve today. We were a family of 3. Many shelters in Delaware, they'll serve a mother with children in a women and children shelter, but if the son is over 13 years of age, they wouldn't be allowed in the shelter. And that would have been me. So my mother would have had to ask herself, excuse me, she would have had to ask herself, essentially, do I stick with my family, or do I somehow break it up to access some services to get back on your feet? Excuse me, so sorry. So the families we serve generally don't have access to social capital in the form of family or friends that can provide short-term relief. And this is where Family Promise really comes in. Everyone on this call, you're the social capital for families that are down on their luck. You're the moms, you're the fathers, and you're the grandparents, brothers, sisters, or friends that provide support, love, and hospitality for families in Delaware that are in need every day. And this is truly the Family Promise way. You, in the form of the social capital you provide, you're what makes Family Promise what we are today. We're a community helping our neighbors when they're down. And despite the challenges of this past year, you as a community have continued to support us and Delaware's families at a time when many are struggling. And because of your support, we've been able to provide social capital for over 200 families since the pandemics began. So I can't thank you enough for supporting us, and more importantly, supporting Delaware's families that are experiencing homelessness at one of the toughest times we've ever experienced in Delaware. Sorry about that. But yeah, thank you, Maddie. I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you so much, Tyler, for sharing your story, and you're incredible. You've really led Family Promise to amazing things, and we're so excited to see the continuous success that we have in the future years. So thank you, Tyler, for sharing your story. It was incredible. And on that note, we'd also like to share our Transforming Lives video next. This video highlights 3 of our resilient families who have secured permanent housing through Family Promise, and they utilized our programs to get their families back on their feet.
Family Promise envisions a nation in which every family has a home, a livelihood, and the chance to build a better future. We understand that being homeless does not define someone. A lost job, an unexpected medical bill, or even a pandemic could snowball many into homelessness.
We came to Delaware in November 2020. I had a fiance out here in Delaware, so that made the transition just a little bit easier because at least I knew someone out here. So he and I were working together to try to get housing and, see what area we wanted to live in and what, where the kids were going to go to school. And so in April of this year, in December of 2021, he and I were supposed to get married. In April of this year, he passed away. So that changed the whole trajectory of my living in Delaware, because now I had no family, no support system, no finances, a part-time job, 2 kids, and I'm staying in the shelter.
I was in a domestic violence situation. I was planning on moving out of Delaware. The Dover Housing Authority, I was out in Manchester, Dover Housing Authority. Because of my situation that nobody knew about, I had to go to court one day for rent. It was like, my rent was a little, $200 and something, but it was a bed bug outbreak. I took my monthly income and I got my kids' beds because I had to throw everything out. So I was late on my rent. The day that I had to go to court to present, my receipts and I paid my rent, even though it was late, I missed the court date due to the domestic violence situation. I did the modification, went back before the judge. She was more concerned about why I missed the court date in the first place versus here's my receipt and stuff, and they evicted me. I was living with one of my friends, lived out on 40, and I basically was like, okay, well, we all had to eventually leave out of there, and it was like, okay, it was like spur of the moment, it's like, oh, well, what am I supposed to do? It's a lot, with just me and 5 children, and trying to figure it all out and not being able to work.
In 2020, national poverty climbed at never-before-seen rates, thrusting nearly 8 million new Americans into unstable financial conditions.
It's been taken out of work. I have fibromyalgia, chronic pain, torso tunnel, a lot of different elements in my body. My mind tells me, yeah, I want to work, and then my body says something different.
It changed everything that I was thinking about doing. Like, I really don't know. You know, I didn't have time to grieve. I didn't have time to process the whole situation. I didn't have time for anything except get up and go. Get up and go. They said you got to move, you got to get up and go.
It could happen to anyone, as over half of Americans are just one paycheck away from losing their home.
I got down to like my last $75 and reached out to the social service.
We were at the Hope Center, and then the Hope Center put us out on to you guys. It was like, you know, well, we have a family promise that will help you guys out.
I used to work 2 jobs. I was a manager. I got taken out of work over 3 years ago, but I still don't have disability, so I've just been trying to do it all.
Family Promise is here to make sure that no matter what obstacles a family is facing, that they have the resources needed to get a roof back over their head.
I'm so grateful to the Family Promise also because a lot of people were very nasty. You know, they had their jobs, but they had no empathy and no compassion. And when people are homeless, they need that. You know, the people are at the end of their ropes. They don't know where their next meal or whatever's coming, especially when you're a parent. That is very, very hard. And a lot of people did not have compassion. Family Promise did.
Thanks to our amazing volunteers, community partners, and staff, we were able to serve 128 families last year, even during a pandemic. Not only that, but we secured permanent housing for 77% of them as well.
When I met with Ms. Georgette, I would say about 6 weeks after that, they helped me secure housing. It wasn't long at all.
Ms. Foster, she was like real. I contact her all the time with the Rapid Housing, let her know everything that's going on. She kept, you know, I don't want you to be anywhere where you're unhappy, and, you know, I want, you know, all your kids to be safe and, you know, somewhere where you can have help.
Well, it was Miss Felicia, and she's our caseworker, and she pretty much, this was like the place we're in now was the first place actually that she had found, and then she found like several others, but like this was like the best. Like far as location, and it was just, I don't know, it was the best thing for my family at that time.
Thank you to all of our supporters, staff, and community partners for making what we do possible.
Family Promise definitely has treated us like family. They are like family, and they're not just an organization. You know, they really truly care.
I never thought that I would see this day where I move into another house, and that it took a long time for me to get, you know, stability back. And if it wasn't for Family Promise, I don't think that I would be here as soon as it's been.
Family Promise is top notch. If they say Family Promise, you guys live up to your promise. That's what it is. If you say I'm going to help and I'm going to do this, that's what you guys have done.
There was multiple times where we literally said, yeah, you know, wow, I can't believe, you know, this is our place. We have our own place. Multiple. I actually, to this day, still do that. I still do that.
We couldn't do this without you.
Thank you guys for watching our video. That video really just shows a sliver of the work that we do here at Family Promise. And it also shows the importance of our work and how it really does make a difference in our community. Next, we will be hearing from 2 lovely ladies, Rashina and Kawanda, who have firsthand experience with our programs and the benefits that they produce. Please welcome first, Rashina Bungie.
Good morning. I first apologize. I'm doing my mother duties. I'm dropping kids off at school. So I apologize. But I just wanted to, first of all, I just wanted to tell Tyler, Tyler, it was very touching. And we thank you for sharing that. Honestly, Tyler, I've never heard that story, but I was very moved, and thank you for sharing it. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about my story. Just give me 1 second, I'm sorry. So good morning, my name is Rashina, and I want to thank you for attending this year's Family Promise of Northern Newcastle annual breakfast. This is very much an honor to be able to speak about my experiences with Family Promise. I came to Family Promise in 2016, 2017 with 2 children. We had already been experiencing homelessness off and on for about 1 year. I lost a job and an apartment with my first child due to his illness and complications from sickle cell disease. So when Tyler talked about, it could be any, like for him, it was divorce. For me, it was, an illness. I was able to get temporary employment positions in between, but was not really making my ends meet. We eventually ended up living undercover with my mom. And I say undercover because she was in subsidized housing. And if you know anything about subsidized housing, you can't have people living with you that aren't on the lease. So we were able to stay there for about a year. I was finally able to join forces with my sister, my older sister, and get a 3-bedroom home. And during that time, my second child was born. Due to the conditions of the house that we lived in, we were only there for about a year. And at this time, I was not employed due to some pregnancy complications with my now daughter. And we ended up leaving that house, putting us back into homelessness. I had no choice but to go back to my mom's apartment. But this time she was downgraded to a 1-bedroom, being that she was the only occupant. It was near the end of 2016, I finally swallowed my pride and reached out for help, contacting the social service agency in need of shelter. I remember the day like it was yesterday. I went to the Newark Social Service, which is about 10 to 15 minutes from the day center. And while sitting in her office, the social worker informed me that she literally had just got a spot opened for a family of 3 at Family Promise. And that was the day that I learned of Family Promise. She asked me would I consider going into shelter. And immediately my mind went to an overcrowded room with a bunch of families huddled together, until she explained what Family Promise was and quickly put my mind at ease. Still hesitant, she asked if I had my own transportation, which I did. And she contacted the staff over there at the time. My case manager, her name was Latasha. She's no longer employed there. But she sent us to her and we made it there. And she was there to greet us. And till this day, I'm grateful that she was there to accommodate us in such a short amount of time. It was probably after 5 p.m. we reached Family Promise. She was patient with us, making sure we understood the process. And during my stay at Family Promise, she never let me get lazy. While at the shelter, I met a lot of interesting people I probably would not interact with daily, not because I'm better than them, but because of our different lifestyles. Yet here we are together on one mission: to obtain and maintain safe and affordable housing. My experience was very humbling because if you know anything about me, you know I'm not the person to ask for help. The volunteers always did their best to be cordial and helpful in all situations, including difficult ones. Any resources or supplies we needed, all you had to do was ask, and they provided. I was telling someone, I don't think I ever, while at Family Promise, I don't think I ever bought training pants for my daughter, because they always helped us out. My experience with Family Promise gave me a new look on life. In a world of struggle, hurt, and pain, there are people who still care. For those of you who aren't familiar with Family Promise, and for those of you who are new to Family Promise, I say it's a chance at independence. It's a second chance at independence. Use the program, don't abuse the program, and work for what you want, whether you need more education or better employment. In the end, my favorite part of Family Promise was being given the key to my own 2-bedroom apartment in Newark. In 2017, while nearing the end of my time at Family Promise, I enrolled in my master's program in legal studies. It was a struggle because who would enroll in school when you're dealing with homelessness, right? I mean, it didn't make sense at the moment, but you step out on faith. At one point because I was experiencing the homelessness, I had to take a semester off, just to get focused. But thankfully, I was able to get right back on board. After we, and then we obtained, our 2-bedroom apartment in Newark, like I said. We stayed there for a few years. And during that time, even though I was housed I was still struggling a little bit due to employment because of the children. The sick, my children were sick. Both of them now have sickle cell, and so it's hard. Employers, a lot of employers don't really, want to hear about you having to be out of work because of a sick child. However, I was able to continue to pay the rent, even having to contact Family Promise on 2 occasions, and I'm very thankful for that. One day I received a call from a previous ED, Carolyn, and she asked if I was looking for a job. And I thought, like, how did she know? That I needed something stable. And I told her, of course, absolutely, Carolyn. And she told me, she explained she had a position for a case manager at the day center at Family Promise. And she explained to me why she thought I would be a good fit for the position. And of course, I accepted. And there are no words to explain how I felt at that time. I was so grateful. Becoming a Family Promise Rapid Rehousing Case Manager has taught me so much about the world. Admittedly, I was a little sheltered and I stayed in my own bubble, but the families don't allow that for too long. You are made aware of everyday struggles people go through, the resources they can't obtain, and even some that lack basic everyday skills to obtain and maintain decent, affordable housing. It has made me an ally of these struggles and will stand in the gap for those who can't stand for themselves. Currently, I have a master's degree in legal studies and was hired in January of 2021 at the Public Defender's Office in Wilmington under the then Chief Defender Brendan O'Neill as a capital crimes mitigation specialist with hopes of law school, and coming back to the Public Defender's Office and working for indigent individuals. Also, I have recently been invited to sit on the board of Family Promise, which is truly an honor. I look forward to contributing to the goals and missions of Family Promise every day. Thank you.
That was amazing, Rashina. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And we really
Thank you, Maddie.
appreciate you being here, and congratulations on your continued success. That's amazing to hear how you've been through the process, and now you're coming out better than ever. And our next speaker is Kawanda McElvin. Thank you so much for joining us today, Kawanda.
Good morning. So my name is Kawanda McElvin, and I was introduced to Family Promise back in early 2020 when I was dealing with homelessness. Also, me and my 2 boys were displaced, and at that time, my uncle allowed us to stay with him in his very small 2-bedroom condo. Me and the boys shared a room and we slept on air mattresses, but we made it work. And Miss Rashina was my caseworker. She always made me feel comfortable, confident, and she always supported me. She went out of her way for me and my children to make sure that we found permanent housing in a location that was decent and my kids would be comfortable. Family Promise has provided me with the resources I needed to stay housed and become a better person and a better mother. Being a single mother is hard, and it was very hard for me to maintain housing, being though I had a newborn and he wasn't really planned to be here, but with God's will, he's here. So it was actually difficult. And now he's autistic, so it's still a little struggle every day. But now being on the other side of the program, I was able to become a case manager myself, and I'm able to help families that were in the same situation as myself and my children. And that's the joy I get every day coming to work. I know that Family Promise helped me, and I know that I can help someone else. And with me having the same background as my families, I feel like I'm able to sympathize with them and understand what's going on, and I'm able to help them a little better. So thank you, Family Promise, for all you've done for me and the rest of the families.
Thank you so much, Kwanda, for sharing your story. And we're so happy that you're on our team here at Family Promise. It's very rewarding to be able to support hardworking people such as yourselves who show how powerful our resources and programs are, especially for our families that we have currently. And after hearing those heartwarming stories and seeing exactly how our programs support and assist those in need, I would like to introduce our board member, Stephanie Whitby. Stephanie, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hi, good morning, everybody, and thank you for everybody's stories. They are tremendously heartwarming, and it just tells it tells exactly what it's supposed to do. The story of what Family Promise does to make such a difference in so many lives. Yes, my name is Stephanie Whitby. I've been a member of the Family Promise Board of Directors, I think 3 years. That COVID year kind of messes you up on how long you've been anywhere anymore, I think. Today, you've heard from so many wonderful people who are making a difference for families that are experiencing homelessness here within the Family Promise organization. And you've learned about many of our fantastic success rates, and that we still are the only place that's keeping families together when they are experiencing homelessness. Now is that time of our being together where we are truly asking you to financially invest in this model, and that you're investing in our promise that we're going to continue to keep helping families now more than ever. It is your support, whether it's through your volunteering, whether it's through your leadership, or whether it's through your financial support, that helps to keep us going and helps us to be able to support and make such a difference in so many people's lives. I promise you, this is definitely going to be your best investment in your local community and in the future of homelessness here in Delaware. So I know that we've said thanks to our sponsors. We can't thank them enough. Thank you, though, to all of you that are on our call today for your donations, but also thank you for your outreach to other people that you know, to you telling our story to other individuals about what Family Promise is doing and how wonderful it is to be able to be a part of this organization. That's how I got involved. It was through a friend of mine that told me about what Family Promise was doing. I had a chance to come to one of the first, not Family Promise's first breakfast, but my first breakfast with Family Promise was memorable. I honestly did not realize how much amazing work was being done right under our nose. So to those of you that are on this call or that are on our breakfast today, thank you for continuing to share our story so that others can be a part of making this great difference. Some of the details of how to be able to give today. Everyone that registered should have received a letter from us containing an envelope. And the envelope obviously provides information on how your donation can be used to serve more families in Delaware. So if you are most comfortable and you would like to donate today by giving a check, you just simply place the check in the envelope and mail it back to us. If you would prefer to just donate by credit card, we accept that too. And you would just need to fill out in the designated areas, provide us all the necessary information so that we can process your donation through credit card. And then again, you would just simply mail that envelope back to us. And of course, donating online, which is a little bit more of the way everybody is doing things these days, especially through COVID. I feel like those that weren't as familiar with an online experience, Zoom experience, have certainly gotten a crash course on it. So you are most welcome and encouraged to donate online. You can also set up a reoccurring donation. And you simply do that by just visiting our website, and everything is there for you. The website is familypromisede.org/donate. And the online donations are received immediately. And I can tell you that those in the office are most appreciative of being able to see what we've got coming in as soon as possible, so we can start to know what additional work and support we can provide for our families. As just a reminder, this is a phrase that's used over and over again, and I hope it doesn't get old because it's truly the truth. And that is that any amount that you give goes a very long way at Family Promise. And we sincerely appreciate your support. It's, as I mentioned before, it's our volunteers that made such a big difference. It's all of the great ideas that folks come up with. It's showing up for events, whether it's by Zoom or in person. And it's all of that that makes our mission in preventing and ending homelessness absolutely possible. So I will share, or I just will say for Maddie or Tyler, if there's anything about the process of donating that I may have missed, please chime in and fill in. I know that the online way at familypromisede.org/donate is probably the best way to go. But if there are any other ways that I may have missed, just let me know. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to be the one to ask everybody to go ahead and give.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. You definitely covered all your bases. So thank you again for joining us and for doing the ask. And if anyone has any questions regarding donations, please reach out to Tyler or I at info@familypromisede.org. And thank you again for your continued support, everyone. To finish off our annual breakfast, we have outgoing Executive Director Cheryl Christensen here for a brief closing statement. Cheryl?
Good morning, everybody. What a great morning it is, and such wonderful stories shared. I don't know if I can top any of that, but I do have some closing remarks. And after my remarks, if anybody has specific questions or you want to hang out after the formal meeting, I'm certainly willing to answer questions. I'm sure Tyler would hang on to and answer questions. So feel free to ask us about anything there. So it is really, really wonderful to see you all here today supporting us and continuing to hang in there with us while we do this important work in a community, and especially the ever-growing need that we have to house families that are experiencing homelessness. So basically, as I reflect on my time here at Family Promise, it will be almost 10 years. And I'm really proud of the organization that we've become. We are an amazing group of people that accomplish so much for the families that really need us. And when I started back in 2012, we had one full-time executive director. I was a part-time employee, and we had a part-time intern. We had the rotational shelter model, which was a beautiful model, and we had 18 partner congregations. We currently have 12 full-time employees, 4 robust programs, of which 2 are shelters, and over 50 partner congregations and numerous supporters. Most important, there's a community awareness and support for the successful work that we do, assisting over 125 families each year to move to sustainable housing, which, by the way, the year that Rashina was here in Rapid Rehousing, she did 75 families basically by herself in 1 year. So we still have to, there's some reasons we can't meet that going forward because of, various reasons, but Rashina really rocked it one particular year. We did over 175 a couple of years ago. So there are so many reasons why I just absolutely love Family Promise, but mainly I really have a passion to be part of this community solution for the families experiencing homelessness. And from that, I'll never really retire. And I know that I'm joined by many of you that have the same feeling. So I'll certainly continue to be available and in my new role as an executive advisor and available to the board and to Tyler for any assistance that's needed. So Family Promise really continues to be incredibly flexible and finding more ways to help families experiencing homelessness. And there's always changes in the community and the environment, and we're just always well situated to be able to move and change and care for the people that really need us and find ways to do that. So as we look to the future, we have very ambitious plans to expand and open additional shelter. And if you want more details on how you can help make that happen with us, we're certainly willing to discuss it with you. But I do consider it a true honor to be on this journey with all of you and doing such meaningful work. You're all truly inspiring, and I'm so privileged to know you. So thank you for all you do to transform the lives of our families. That's it for me. So
thank you so much, Cheryl. And thank you again, everyone, for joining us. This year has definitely been a bit crazy. So thank you for sticking with us as we continue to adapt to the world around us and while helping those most in need. And if you have any questions regarding the breakfast or our programs, feel free to stay on the call. We'll be hosting a Q&A and answering any questions that you may have. But for the rest of our supporters, thank you again for joining us. And we hope you have a great rest of your morning and stay safe out there. Perfect. So Tyler and I and Cheryl will be leading the Q&A. So we will start. You can raise your hand. You can ask a question in chat, whatever is easiest for you all.
We're happy to answer anything you might have for us.
I did see someone had asked about any update about church involvements post-COVID. That was just in the general chat. So I don't know if that's one you want to start with. I just happened to see that.
okay, I can probably take that one. So Andrea has been in close touch with the congregation coordinators quarterly in her meetings. And early on, when COVID first came about and we needed to make a quick pivot to closing the shelter model within churches, we really wanted to make sure that before we decided to go back to opening our church model, everybody would be comfortable with it. Because if we were going to house a family in a church one week and the person on the schedule for the next week, the congregation upcoming, was not comfortable, we would be in a bit of a bind with a family having no place to really be housed. So I made a deal really with everybody that everybody had to be on board and agree and vote that it was a good idea to reopen. And given the Delta variant, given the fact that we do encounter a number of families that choose not to be vaccinated, we don't feel it's a safe proposition right now. In addition, as we look toward purchasing the property that we're on and expanding the facility, we're hoping that at some point we might be able to have the rotational model serving on our property at some time in the future. Of course, we don't know where that is, but we still have a lot of work to do on the expansion. But we're looking long-term to make some changes in that rotational model. So we continue to touch base quarterly with congregations and really taking their feeling about their own congregation into consideration before deciding that we would reopen that model.
I see Dennison was asking you about future plans, and you kind of touched on that, Cheryl. But just as Cheryl mentioned, as far as congregations go, we're just continuing to touch base, see where things are at, and really playing it by ear, because so much of it tends to be, us reacting to the external environment, as you know, primarily COVID. So continue to reach our congregations quarterly, see how they're feeling, and really just saying, depending on when it would be safe to bring the rotational network back in its normal model. And then just other big plans as far as future goes is Cheryl kind of mentioned the expansion project that we're currently in the preliminary phases of. And the expansion project, Dennison, primarily focuses on us purchasing the 2501 Milltown Road property. It's where we have our current hospitality center, and then expanding on site so that we would be able to serve more families there. And then we see this basically, it's about a 1 to 2 year process plan that we're trying to work out now. So that's the biggest thing we have coming up. And kind of dovetailing off of that, I saw Susan ask what I'm most excited about. So 2 things. The first would be the expansion project. Very huge project. Very excited to always build any kind of new capacity that we could possibly build here to serve more families experiencing homelessness in Delaware. How can you not get excited about that? And the other thing that we're very excited about, or I'm very excited about, is my previous position was development and marketing director. And a lot of what I did, I interacted, with my other coworkers and things like that. But as coming in as the executive director, I really kind of have a piece in everything that's going on here. And that just gets me really excited knowing that I'm working with all of our employees in all kinds of different ways, really in every aspect of what we have here to ensure folks get into permanent housing. I saw we have another question. Oh, sorry. Here. Yeah, you can go ahead, Cheryl.
So the church participation since COVID has been remarkable. We have not had a church that said it's not something we can do. So we are really, really blessed to have continued participation from all of the congregations that have been involved. Previous to COVID, we had 2 congregations that have dropped out of the rotational network, mainly for downsizing of the congregation and not having a large enough volunteer pool. So that happened pre-COVID, but during COVID, we haven't had any congregations drop out. We've actually had more calls and interest and support because they really love what we do. They really like the connection with families. Some, of course, are missing that personal connection with the families, and we really hope to get that back soon. But we don't currently have that. So the other question about the relationship with the Hope Center, we have an office at the Hope Center, and we are continuing to work with the families there. Our piece in it is they're offered shelter by the Hope Center, whether they're a family or an individual, and we work to help them move out of the Hope Center into sustainable living, helping them and guiding them through the process of finding a place to live and move into. So we're very involved there. We have even jumped in to help individuals, not just families, there at the Hope Center. So we have one particular case manager dedicated to helping individuals. And then we have multiple case managers that are working to help with the families there. And Madeline joined us a couple of months ago, and she is the person that's doing the development and marketing. So we needed someone in that position because Tyler's going to be taking my position. So that's what Madeline's doing, all of the work that Tyler had been doing. So we're really happy to have her.
Very
And
happy
I
to be
think
here.
the Hope Center right now, I don't think they're at capacity. So.
Thank you, Dennison. And yeah, does anyone else have any questions? You can write in the chat or you can raise your hand as well. And then we can unmute you if you would like to speak.
So one of the other things that I will mention going into this next year, and given the fact that we're working on an expansion, we are also looking for more community partners and congregations. So congregations that would be interested in coming in and helping out in the same way that our current congregations are helping, but not just limiting it to congregations, also including Rotary groups or corporation departments that might be interested in coming in as partners and working in the same way. So we're hoping that some of that happens organically through congregations that are involved. They might have somebody there that's very involved in a book group or a garden club, and getting those types of organizations also involved in helping Family Promise in the hosting environment.
Yeah, and Maddie, it looks like we have a question just for you. They're asking if you could talk to everyone a little bit more about yourself and your background.
Oh, yes. So I have been working in nonprofit since about late 2018, early 2019. And it all stemmed from my mom being diagnosed with acute leukemia. I had to take a step back from work at the time, as it was just a lot of turmoil going on in my life. And while I was at the Mayo Clinic with my mom on the leukemia floor, I got a call for a temporary position at the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So with that, it really kickstarted my interest in nonprofit and just getting to meet volunteers and community members, and just hearing stories from survivors in any walks of life, whether it be going through homelessness or a cancer patient. It's just been such an incredible journey to really devote my life to service and be a nonprofit and know that my organization is truly behind me and I know where the money is going, and it's a very rewarding job. So I started at LLS. I worked my way up and really enjoyed it there. I did have to move away from Florida, and coming to Delaware, I was looking for another nonprofit that had a really great background, had great community standing, and Family Promise was just such a perfect fit. And I immediately knew in my heart that I wanted to work for this organization, and it has been incredible ever since. So they really are service driven, and it's not just about numbers. And it's incredible to find that because not all nonprofits sometimes are completely service driven. So it's just been incredible working here, and I can't wait to learn more about development and marketing and get more into grants. And it's been very rewarding, but that's how I began in nonprofit, and I'm never looking back.
So I'll answer Dennison's question about Carolyn. She is currently the director of affiliate expansion. She received a promotion recently, so she's no longer our regional director. We have a new regional director, and she's working with, I guess, all over the US with affiliates that need to internally expand, and also new affiliates that need to move into an area.
Well, it doesn't look like we have any more questions. So we will wrap it up, but thank you all so much for joining us. And if you have anything else that comes to mind, please reach out to Tyler or I. My email is madeline@familypromisede.org. You can also check your inbox because you've probably received many emails from me. But thank you again for joining us and for continuously supporting Family Promise. And we hope you have a safe rest of your day, everyone.